Ever thought about what it's really like to be a care at home worker? It's one of those jobs, kind of flies under the radar, but it really takes a special kind of person. So today, we're going to dive deep into this career path using some really interesting stuff from RoleCatcher.com. We've got their whole career guide. It's like a digital playbook for care at home workers. Plus, we'll peek at their interview prep resources and even some cool tech they've got to help with the job search. And to help us unpack all this, we've got experts name. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. Happy to be here. Always good to talk about a field that often gets misunderstood.
Right. So let's start with the basics. I was going through Rollcatcher's career guide, and they really get into the day-to-day of this role. Honestly, it's way more than I expected. What about you?
Yeah, it's more than just checking off tasks like, helping someone get dressed or making a meal. Those are obviously super important. For me, what really stood out was how much they emphasize the emotional support side of it. Like,
Hmm.
the guide really drives home how crucial that is.
Yeah, that makes sense. So it's really about the whole person, not just like a to-do list.
Totally. These caregivers are often companions, confidants, even cheerleaders. It's not just physical care, but emotional care too.
Definitely. And speaking of a well-rounded approach, the guide also talks about how technology is changing the game for care at home workers. It's not all pen and paper these days, right? There's stuff about wearable devices, telehealth. What's your take on how tech is impacting things?
Oh, it's completely changing how care is given, for sure.
Hmm.
Think about it. Wearable devices that can track a client's vitals, their sleep, even if they might have fallen.
Wow, yeah.
That kind of real-time info, it's so valuable for both the caregiver and the family. That whole extra level of safety and peace of mind.
It's like having another set of eyes, even when you can't physically be there.
Exactly. And then there's telehealth. Huge, right?
Hmm.
Especially for those who find it tough to leave the house. They can see doctors, specialists, therapists, all from their living room.
It's interesting. Telehealth has become so much more normal for everyone lately, but I can only imagine how much more important it is for someone who needs in-home care.
Absolutely.
One last thing that caught my eye in the career guide was the job outlook. They're saying there's going to be like a 6% increase in demand for care at home workers. Isn't that massive?
It's big, yeah. And it really shows a pattern. We've got a growing population,
Uh-huh.
and more people want to stay in their own homes as they age. So in-home care is only going to become more essential. It's not a temporary thing. It's a total shift in how we, as a society, think about caregiving.
It really makes you think about the bigger picture, huh? And speaking of long term, something I found kind of surprising in Rollcatcher's Guide was how they break down the different career stages. It's not just like, boom, you're a care at home worker, right? There's levels to this.
Oh, yeah, definitely. They talk about starting at an entry level. Then as you get more experience, you can work your way up to senior care at home worker. It's like a career ladder. I think that's really cool. Shows there's room to grow in this field.
For sure. And you know what else I thought was interesting? Like, as you move up, it becomes about more than just those hands-on caregiving skills. For example, at the standard level, they mention advocating for client rights. What does that even mean, practically speaking, in this job?
Basically, it's being your client's voice, especially if they can't do it for themselves. Could be helping them get resources, dealing with like paperwork and systems, even just making sure doctors listen to what they want. It's a big responsibility. Needs good communication skills for sure.
So it's kind of like being a caregiver and an advocate all in one. That's pretty amazing. Then at the senior level, there's talk about managing other staff, almost like mentoring.
Exactly. You become the go-to person for newer folks, showing them the ropes, how to handle the tough stuff. Makes sense. You gain all this experience, you pass it on.
Yeah, definitely. Sounds like learning never really stops in this line of work.
Okay, so let's say someone's listening to us and they're like, this is it. This is the job for me. What's the interview process like? Because Rollcatcher has a bunch on interview prep too, right? They do. It's super thorough. What got me was they don't just give you those basic interview questions, the generic ones.
Hmm.
They really get into what it takes specifically to be a great care-at-home worker.
Totally. They have some really interesting questions like, how do you handle difficult or challenging clients? Because let's be real, not every client's going to be a walk in the park, right? What would you even say to that?
I think honesty is key. Like,
Yeah.
you got to show you get that this job has tough moments. Not like you're going to mess up, but that you can stay calm, communicate well, set boundaries when you need to.
Right. Be prepared for anything, but still be professional and obviously compassionate.
Exactly.
This other question really stuck with me. How do you balance the emotional demands of this work with your own well-being? Man, that's a big one.
It's huge EE. This work It can be so rewarding, but it's heavy stuff sometimes. Knowing when you're getting burned out, taking care of yourself, that's essential. And for RoleCatcher to even ask that, it tells me they're not just filling a position, they want people to really last in this career.
It really is all about balance, isn't it? You can't help others if you aren't taking care of yourself, too.
100%.
So, okay, someone's listening, they're inspired, they're like, all right, I want to be a care at home worker. How do I actually find these jobs? RoleCatcher actually has some pretty cool tools for that whole job search part. Anything jump out at you?
I thought their RoleCatcher.capture plugin was really clever. You can save job postings from any job site, basically, LinkedIn, Indeed, whatever, and it puts them all together for you.
Oh, that's handy because I don't know about you, but I get lost in a million tabs when I'm job hunting. Having everything in one place would be a lifesaver.
Right. And then get this, they even have AI that analyzes your resume.
Wait, what?
Really? You upload it, and it tells you which version's the best fit for each job you apply to.
That's amazing. Like having a personal resume expert on call.
Totally. Takes out some of the guesswork, which is huge in this job market.
I love it. Using tech not just to make caregiving itself better, but to help caregivers all the way through finding those jobs, succeeding in them.
Yeah, that's the key.
Well, I think that's about all the time we have for today's deep dive. But man, we covered so much ground from the day-to-day of being a care-at-home worker to the tech that's transforming the entire field. Makes you think, right?
Definitely.
To everyone listening, thanks for joining us. It's a topic we could talk about for days, but we hope this gave you a good starting point. And hey, maybe it even sparked some ideas about where you want to dive deep next. Until then, keep exploring those overlooked corners of the world because you never know what you might find.